Hello and welcome to the May 2025 Profit Plan webinar series. And my name is Rhonda Petit, and I am a best-selling author of The Spirit of Selling, professional speaker, and CEO of 3x5 Coaching, where we help executive teams build high-performing teams and master transitions so that they can lead with conviction and purpose. And today's topic that we're going to be talking about is transformational leadership, making this leadership shift from transactional to transformational leadership. And this is not an optional. If you want to dominate and you want to succeed and take advantage of opportunity that's coming, this is not an optional idea. It's really urgent. And the purpose of putting together this webinar is to really frame it up for you very simply so that it's coming to top of mind when you're in your executive team meetings thinking about your future-proofing your organization to be profitable and sustain that profitability and really grow and take advantage of this disruption that's happening in the workforce in terms of change with the moving into the intelligent age, and also the change that's happening with the generational flip. We're going to be talking about the fact that the biggest opportunity right now in the workforce to take advantage of this disruption is with the human assets. There is AI that we need to take care of and manage and figure out how we can leverage that. But the bigger lever, I will argue till the day I go into the ground, is that we can leverage is human potential. And the opportunity right now is unbelievable if you can see it. So with that, let me start and let's get the background for today's event and get you going. This is going to be a short, concise, and sweet message, but timely, very timely. So we're talking about making a leadership shift in a disruption. And right now, why are my slides? Come on, work for me. Okay, the stakes. We are in 2025, and in 2030, I want you to imagine that you're going into work, and 2 out of every 3 people that you meet when you go into work are either millennials and Gen Zs. And when they go to work, they're coming to work not for a paycheck. They want purpose, they want impact, and they want a leader who's not just going to manage them, but inspire them. And the truth is that the leadership style that built yesterday's companies is not the one that's going to sustain and build and lead tomorrow's. So we're on the edge right now of a generational flip. And there's 6 trends that are shaping leadership as we move into 2030. They are the intelligent age, which is upon us with the AI. The pace of change is faster. You need speed to lead. There's new talent landscape, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. People are coming to work through all the things that we've been through since the pandemic. People want purpose and meaning in their work. They want to have authenticity, ethics, transparency from their leaders. And we have to be nimble and move in this global economy that we're in. And so how are you as a CEO or an executive director going to attract and retain top talent for the future and leverage that possibility? So if you're listening and you're concerned about that, you're in the right place. In 2030, the generational flip that's happening is that 66% of the workforce will become millennials and Gen Z. And the reason that this is urgent and not optional is that they don't want a boss when they come to work. They want a leader. And so if there was ever a time in history where we needed leaders, true leaders that are skilled in leadership, it is now. Because those people, those organizations that decide they're going to have a culture and philosophy where they want to attract and retain the top talent, the A players, they're going to need to make this shift because the workforce flip that's happening, when you look at it and compare it to the most recent January 25 Gallup poll, is pretty alarming in the sense that 66% of your workers are having issues with engagement. Now, if you look at the generation, the opportunity, I'll show you the stats from the 2025, which is why this is an urgent matter. But also the opportunity that we have in this time and space in the workforce is that we do have 5 generations of people with very different experiences to bring to the marketplace to harmonize and really build trust and innovate with that in knowledge and intelligence just in the people assets that we have. I'm not talking about just AI. I'm talking about the human potential that we have. 5 generations of workers that are still working that can be leveraged. You've got people like the traditionalists that came out of the experiences of the Great Depression and World War II. They're very motivated by respect. You've got the people like myself, the boomers, who have a lot of motivation around teamwork. And we grew up with the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement that was going on. Gen X generation, they dealt with the AIDS epidemic and the falling of the Berlin Wall, if you remember, and they're big into work-life balance. They were the latchkey kids, if you remember, and then the millennials who grew up with the 9/11 and the internet when it came out and really got going, right? And they're very much into responsibility. And then you've got the Gen Z who's motivated by creativity, and man, we need them if we've ever needed them for what's about to happen in the workplace over the next 10 years. And they always grew up with technology, so they're very technology adept because they've never grown up without it. They've had iPhones and all the kinds of things that we never had. But they also were affected during the times of the Great Recession. So the opportunity is that what I want to talk about for disruption, this disruption that's happening in terms of moving from, going from an information age into an intelligent age, and the generational shift that's happening, those two disruptions coming together, I believe the biggest opportunity you have as a CEO or executive leader is to decide that you're going to capitalize on this with the human potential asset and get more out of it. So today I wanted to talk about how do you do that. Now, if you look at the results of the Gallup poll in January, why is this urgent? Why is it relevant now? In January, just January of this year, Gallup said that we hit a 10-year low in productivity in the workforce. When they surveyed those workers, the majority of the dissatisfaction came from the millennials and the Gen Zs, and they said, look, we don't have clarity of expectations from the managers that we have. Over 40% of them don't feel cared about as a human being, and less than 30% of them feel that they're getting any kind of direction around their personal and professional development as employees. And so that signals a real bell to HR and us as an executive team to say, hey, we're not giving them what they need. Why is that happening? And what are we going to do about it? Now, the further problem with that is the cost of this is incredible. Disengagement in corporate in the United States alone is somewhere between 350 and 400 billion with a B cost in loss from this loss of productivity. It's not just in productivity and what people are doing, but it's the customer experience that it's creating from the culture of the company, the people that work in there. You've got increased absentee, you've got toxicity sometimes because they're not getting what they want, what they expect, those 3 areas we're talking about from their management team. And really, people leave because of management and their jobs. That I think it's the #1 statistic in just why people stay or go. And if you look at what's been going on in the change, it's like we have to wake up, because we've been getting telltales of this for the last 5 years. In 2020, we had the pandemic, and we had just a bunch of people just plain left the workforce. Then there was a shortage of workers, and then in 2021 there was this reshuffling where people were saying, I need my work-life balance. They were moving positions, etc. In 2022 and 23, we went into the quiet quitting phase, if you recall, where people were just doing the bare amount of that was the way they were retaliating or saying they were dissatisfied, but just doing the bare bones amount to get by. And they felt a little bit of empowerment when they did that, but then it flipped in 2023, because then that was the return to the office, and you had some pushback and you had some employer retaliation, especially given that the economic times were uncertain and people were afraid to lose their jobs. And now we're in this boss era where, we've got more centralized leadership and people are more back to work. And the question really is going to become, who are going to be the corporations and the leaders that are going to take the lead and really use this disruption as an opportunity to maximize their human potential and increase their productivity by the philosophy and the decision of the culture and the mindset that they want in their corporation to lead. Because at the end of the day, disengagement is due to uninspiring leadership. If there's no inspiration in the work, if they're not triggered emotionally from the heart, there's just no, and there's logic is not inspiration, and it's not going to move people. Emotion does. So we're in a situation in 2025, clearly from Gallup, that says those old leadership models of what we used to do based upon factories in the Industrial Revolution, they're becoming obsolete. People are you don't want to have, when the original industrial age was happening, if you look at we're between industrial and information age, you had the Frederick Taylor principles of scientific management were introduced, and they were based upon, well, okay, we came off the farms and this is how we motivated the creatures and the donkeys, and they just took it right into the factories to try to get compliance and hierarchy and consistency, etc. And it was all external leadership, external motivation, like a donkey. Here's a commission plan, or here's an incentive plan if you'd hit this number and your productivity goes up. And if when that doesn't work, then it's the stick. So that's an old age leadership style. And as we move today, if you think about it, we're transitioning out of the information into intelligence. And so now we have the extra lever of intelligence to multiply our impact with. But the focus of what we're doing is really around the need for creativity. And so I always like to explain to people, if you think about it, human beings, human assets are creators. God created creation in 3 steps. First, he creates the universe, then he creates the creatures, and they come from the water and the land. And then he creates creators in the image of the creator, right? And so we need to start leading our people as creators, not as creatures. And those who move in that direction are going to attract the top talent. And they're going to be able to really leverage that creativity that's going to come in this new age, where we as human beings, all 5 generations together, get to lever this new power of intelligence with our human asset and creativity that is infinite. And that is the people that get it and get that it's about creativity, not compliance and holding on to status quo, are going to lead, and they're going to lead big. So the question you want to be thinking about as I'm talking to you here is, are you as a CEO vested in developing a culture and a mindset of investment in your people, investment in the assets for creativity to get your productivity up? And I would argue that investment is going to reap 10 times or more, 100 times more than just the intelligence that we can leverage from AI. I'm not saying I'm all for leveraging the intelligence for AI, but the bigger opportunity is your human assets are your greatest potential for your organization to thrive. Because what the 66% of the workforce that got surveyed, that's going to be the major part of the workforce in 2030, what they want is not what we've been giving them. It's clear from the survey. The legacy leadership of yesterday with compliance and control and hierarchy and status quo, that's, and treating people on trades versus investing in people for future return, that's gone the way of the dinosaur. And the next gen talent for creativity and what we're going to do, moving forward in this intelligent agency and the speed and the pace of it is going to demand a different kind of leadership, and one that's based in, driving purpose and growth and investing in their people and giving people inspiration and investment for future returns, so people can see their dreams within the organization's dreams and all be connected to a meaningful impact and purpose to make impact and positive legacy for the marketplace. So transformational leadership's the new standard. If, the old boss thing is gone, and, the world needs coaches, mentors, and visionaries. So the question, now that whether you want, what kind of culture and mindset you want for your organization, the next question is have you invested in your leaders? Have you invested in the leadership development that's necessary so that people have the skills to be a leader? A lot of times people will come out of a role and they were the best salesperson or the best mechanic or the best whatever, and then they get put into mid-level management, and they've got no management training, and then as soon as there's issues or contractions in the economy and we want to save costs, the first thing they cut is leadership development, and that's the last thing you really should be cutting. And it's more urgent than ever now to be evaluating do my leaders today have the skills that they need? And the primary three pillars that I think are the biggest ones to move from is, do your leaders have the ability to coach as opposed to direct? Do they empower their people to do things, or do they try to control it because they don't trust their people to do what they're going to do, and they're not allowing that potential to come out and allowing time for that potential to come out? And then the last thing is, how well do your leaders in your executive team, your leadership team that are part of attracting your talent, how much are they encouraging their team members to own things, to have autonomy, to be able to do their job without having somebody over them telling them exactly step by step what to do? And are they held accountable that, at the end of the day, we need to get to 9 so we can get there 7 + 2, or we can get there 5 + 4, or 1 + 8. Doesn't matter how we get there, but give them the accountability that they've got to be at 9 and hold them to that kind of a standard. So the leaders for 2030 and the organizations that are going to thrive are being built today. And the question I have for you is, are you one of them? Are you evolving, or are you going to be left behind? Now, if we look at the pillars of the 3 things in terms of leadership capabilities that our leaders need to be if they're going to be a transformational leader, because transformation happens by applying principles of truth with discipline. Their truths, they resonate, their basic principles, they don't change. And so are your leaders empowering the creators, their human assets that they have, not treating them like creatures? So that's number 1 that you really want to look at, because those, especially in this innovative time of leveraging things like AI and intelligence, the creativity and the speed at which we'll be able to, come up with figuring out how to cure diseases and create better health care, or, all kinds of things that are going to happen from all this intelligence that we're going to be able to leverage, everything's going to go super fast. So, are they empowering that creativity of the creators that they have? That's number one. Number two is, how well do your leaders have ability to manage and lead transitions? Can they create buy-in? Can they ride the wave of change? Can they do they look at change and resist it, or do they lean into it and say, yes, we're going to grow and we're going to even get better at riding those waves? And can they bring the team with them and ride the wave so that there's not resistance and pullback every time something changes? Because if you think it's been going fast up until now, it's going to go 10 times, 20 times faster in the next 5 years. And if you don't have your leadership team in a place of being able to deal with transitions, they don't understand the psychology of transition, they don't understand how to impact and communicate and articulate their communication to inspire the fire in their team, then where are you going to be left behind if other organizations are doing that? So their ability to ride the wave of change and lead in the wave of change as a leader is extremely important. And then the third part is, are they able to really unleash potential, see capability in the gem, like the diamond in the rough, see it and be able to bring that out and get it polished and pressure, with pressure and whatever, so that it shines bright. Every single human being has this divine special talents within, and how well are your leaders equipped to bring that out? Are they like a coach that hands the kid a ball and says, okay, you can go get into the game, go do it, you know what to do, and encouraging them not to just go do it, but to take ownership of it and get in there and get into the arena and own it from an accountability. So the question for today really comes down to asking yourself, is your organization prepared to lead? And have you, as the CEO and the visionary leader, are you looking at your, from your vantage point or your vision? Are you casting that vision to your team? Are you going to embrace the fact that you want transformational leaders who are going to leverage creativity from their human assets? And you get to make the choice, because where you stand in the road right now and what your amount of preparedness for 2030 is going to determine whether you're going to hire, inspire, and retain the top talent and really lead the future and lead this disruption and create opportunity for yourself, your shareholders, your employees, and have the future that you want. So what I do like I said earlier, I help employers, executive leaders, really have their leaders master the art of transition, master the shifting, the ability to shift and ride the waves, and to lead with conviction and purpose. And so if you'd like some more information on how I might be able to help you with some ideas for your team, or to talk about possibilities of things you might want to consider, even if you're doing something different, you want to discuss about it, let me know, because this is something that I'm passionate about. I think I'm here. I know my purpose is to help lead this transition, and the world needs leadership today, leadership that people want to follow. So I invite you to reach out, contact me. But if nothing else, I hope today's webinar has brought to your attention the importance and the urgency of making the decision to move into that transformational leadership and move away from transactional leadership, because the workforce, the majority of the workforce that we're going to have in the next 5 years, the top talent's all going to the place where the transformation's happening. It's not going to stay with the old way of the compliance and the hierarchy. And I certainly hope that this has been, enlightening as to the urgency of it. And I encourage you to take action. And if you have any questions, to reach out. Let's keep the conversation going. And if we can do it together, if you want to link arms and have someone to help inspire the fire in your team, that's a conversation that I'd love to have with you and love to support you in your as you move forward to really future-proof your organization for 2030 so you can thrive. All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much for registering, and we'll be in touch. Take care. Bye.